Hello, and good work, everyone. I hope you all had a peaceful Shabbos. Obviously, jam-packed Pasha. Pasha was Yera. I mean, it's actually hard to cramp into one's mind the momentous things that went on during this week's Pasha. There was one thought that I had, just a little diuk in the words of the Parsha when the Malachim come and they announce to Avram and to Sarah that Sarah is going to have a child. And Sarah denies that she has laughed. So there's an answer. The Baruch Hu answers, with the from the Malach, Lo kitzachakt. No, for you did laugh. The Measure says this is the only place that we find in the Chumash that Hashem has spoken directly to a woman. Yes, of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Chava, but you can say that speaking to Chava was more a speech to the entire female persuasion, as it were. It wasn't a personal talk to her, as it were. But one needs to understand, even if it wasn't, the only such instance, let's say the Kadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Sarah, the Torah says, Mefurish, that Kadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Sarah. And what is he saying? No, you're lying. You did laugh. That's a reason to speak to her? To embarrass her? What is the kavana? What does it do? What does it bring to the table? So I thought to say, in a possible way, that Sarah didn't know who these malachim were. So when they say to Avraham Avinu, I'm going to return to you in a year, and Sarah has a son. So Sarah took it as like a bracha, kind of, you never, sneeze at anyone's bracha, especially they didn't know that they were malachim, they thought that they were Arabs. Yeah. So she didn't take it seriously. So, and what did she think? She thought that, she thought in her heart, how is it possible for, for a 90-year-old woman to have children? She no longer had, the menstrual period. And she said, and my husband is old. So when the Malach, quote unquote, found her out, and it says, why does Sarah say that she is old? Is it not possible for Hashem to do anything? The Malach did not mention that she also had it in her mind that her husband is old. So the Medrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has omitted that particular part because it would have insulted Avraham Avinu, would have hurt his feeling. This is something that, I mean, he was 100 years old. So people are like, what's insulting about it? First of all, people should know that when you tell old people, elderly people that they're old, it insults them, it hurts them. Why? I mean, it's just it's borne out by the facts. It does not matter. Even Avraham Avinu would have been hurt by being called old. That's one thing. But an additional inyan is that since the Malach did not mention that second part of her thought, Sarah can still, and so she denied it. She was afraid, and she denied it. She still didn't know it was a Kadosh Baruch Hu speaking. Maybe it would have been somebody who was very perceptive, that would have guessed that Sarah wouldn't believe that she can still have children, because not everything that she thought in the heart was repeated by the Malach. So she could deny it, which means she still didn't know this is a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only when HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells her, no, you did laugh, which means it's not I guessed you weren't believing me. I know you did laugh. This was a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That promise is from me. It is really going to happen. In order to give Sarah a chizuk, it's not just a bracha of somebody, but it's a promise from Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the divine source of that promise was verified by telling her, no, I know you laughed. So that's a possibility, just like a... Well, let's get down to business. Let's go with Sipurey Baal Shem Tov. We all need it. Klal Yisrael needs it. And this is the story about Bitachon. Go to a specific village. This is the message that Baal Shem Tov heard, Mishamayim. In this particular village, you'll be able to see what's the pshat of real Bitachon. So, Baal Shem Tov called his Talmidim, told them to get ready for a trip, and they went, and when they got to that village, it's a very famous story. When they got to this village, they stayed by an innkeeper, and accepted them, very nicely, gave them a nice meal. And in the morning, in the middle of Davening Shachris, a policeman comes to the house with a stick and knocks with his club on a table 3 times and leaves. Talmidei Baal Shem did not know what's going on. They didn't say anything. After the tefillah, the Baal Bais, put breakfast for them. And before they even washed for the Suda, the policeman comes again and hits with his club the table 3 times. And he goes away. Baal Shem Tov asks the innkeeper, what does he want? What does this Michigan and what does this guy want? He says, this policeman is the messenger of the landowner, from whom I'm renting this inn. And he was told him very calmly, today is the last day for paying the rent for the past couple of years. The annual rent, and I still haven't paid him. And these knocks that he knocks on the table with the club is the warning of the landowner to remind me to pay that debt. And if I'm not going to do this until the third, clapping on the table, I'm going to be taken, to the dungeon. Like that's the way they used to do it those days. She says, "You seem so calm," said the Baal Shem Tov. "You probably have the money. Why don't you go to the landlord, just pay him? Afterward, we'll sit down, we'll eat calmly." So the innkeeper said, "To be honest, I don't have a penny, and I'm not worried. Because Baruch Hu will help. Let's sit and eat. Still 3 hours before that person comes. The person comes, that's time." Everybody looked at him like, wow. I didn't say anything. They sat, they ate breakfast. Balabais, talks with them. The Torah is happy, gewaltige guests. And the Balabais, finished eating his Suda, benachas, make a samozim, the kavona, put on 9 clothes, and starts to get out of the house. So the Baal Shem Tov told him, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to the landowner to pay my annual rent." Hashem says, "Did you already get the money?" He says, "No." "All right, just a Kodesh Baruch Hu, it's going to be okay." And he went out to the pirates to pay the debt. So the Baal Shem Tov meet him, watched him, observed him, to see that he's going up, up the hill towards the mansion of the landowner. And as the innkeeper was going further and further, suddenly on the road, there's a wagon. A wagon came there and spoke to him a few, some words, and then the wagon kept on going. And that Yid goes on. After a few minutes, that wagon comes back to the innkeeper and puts money in his hand, and they shake hands, and he goes. So the Talmid Hashem asked that person, when he came to the inn, he asked him, what did you speak? What was the exchange between you and the Balabais? So he told him that the innkeeper is producing an extraordinarily good mashka, brandy or whatever. And I asked from him to buy the produce of the upcoming year. And the innkeeper requested a certain sum of money. And I offered him a smaller sum of money. He didn't agree. So then we separated. He says, I went away. Then it dawned on me, something, it's worthwhile to do business with him. I know he's honest, he's straight. So I came back to him and I gave him all the money that he wanted. Shem Tov turned to his Talmidim and told him, this is the koyach of Bitachon the Kodesh Baruch Hu. When you take a look at this, and you think like how could he, how could he possible, and trust, and he wasn't afraid, or this is a very, very important sugya to learn and to understand. The sugya of Bitachon. What is the difference between emuna and bitachon. And how can you know? I mean, maybe your trust in Kodesh Baruch Hu is just, a foolhardy kind of, wishful thinking. How do you know that it's not that? The fact is that emuna and bitachon are actually one and the same. Emuna is, in theory, that's your state of mind. Bitachon is emuna l'maisa. It's applied emuna. When you act upon the emuna that you have, that is bitachon. Rabbeinu says something very, very important about that. And Rabbeinu says it actually encompasses in it, the crux of quantum physics. That sight, as it were, creates reality. Rabbeinu says, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, we say it 3 times a day. When we say Ashrei, when we say Inei chol elecha yesaber, everyone's gaze is directed towards you, Rabbeinu Shalom. And you give them their sustenance and its right time. So Rabbeinu says that the istaklus, the gazing, the looking, creates a keli, creates a vessel for the sheva, for the bounty to come. The istaklus is making mokum zman. So he says that it's very possible, it says like when a person, a certain amount of money or whatever it is supposed to come to this person in a while or whatever. If a person is bitachon in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, the bitachon means can make it that the Kadosh Baruch Hu gives him that money that's supposed to come to him right when he needs it. Not, let's say the money is supposed to come like in a year, 2, 3, whatever. The person has bitachon, will come to him at that particular point in time. This inyan that it's many times expressed in many different ways, and it's called, some people call it mind over matter, but the truth is that life gives you what it is that you want, what it is that you believe in. If a person believes, chas v'chalila, that he is a no-goodnik, life, quote unquote, will prove to him that he's right. If a person believes that life, that he's matzliach, that he's successful, and he is not just that he will be successful, but he is a successful person in his mitzias, he will be matzliach because he has the keli for that. So comes the question: okay, what happens to me if I don't have this keli? I'm not in a situation where, let's say that I feel feeble, I feel unworthy, I feel lack of self-confidence, call it what you will. What do you do then? Well, the answer is you keep on working on your emunah. And as you're working on emunah, a certain amount of that emunah will be translated into action, into bitachon bepoil. That bitachon bepoil will bring you the bounty. It'll bring it to you. And what that does, it will teach you to trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, there will come a bigger nisayon, and over there you won't be so certain that it's going to help. So then sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't. But but you already learned the principle that when you trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu, when you are able to bring yourself to trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu because of the level or your level of your emunah, things will come your way. And you build it that way. You build the emunah. The emunah produces bitachon. Bitachon gets fulfilled, and the fulfillment of the bitachon seeps into your system. It becomes something that you trust, something that you live with. So a person, it's practically impossible to tell every person, do this or do that, have this bitachon, don't have that bitachon. Basically, you need to tell people they should have bitachon, but you can't put yourself in somebody else's place and says, okay, this particular place, this particular point in time, have bitachon. Just the true bitachon, the ultimate bitachon, Chazon Ish explains it, is not that the Kadosh Baruch Hu will necessarily give you what it is that you want. Real bitachon is that I trust 100% that whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu will give me is exactly what's good for me. That is real bitachon. There's the famous Maril Diskin that I retold many times about Yosef HaTzadik. It tells the Egyptian minister of libations, mention me to Paro. And he says, of course, it says, Chartani, remember me, mention me. And he forgets him. Didn't remember him, and he forgot him. So Rashi says on the spot, a very famous medrash, says that because the Yosef said to the Mitzri, remember me and mention me, he got 2 more years on the slammer as a punishment. So basically, the Maril Diskin and the Chazon Ish are saying, in the nutshell, the same thing. The Chazon Ish says about this, he says that for normal people, what did Yosef do? Just did normal shtatlas. So you ask him, if he remembers, doesn't. Just normal, that's what people do. Chazon Ish says, somebody who has the madrega of Yosef should know that the Egyptian will only do what's good for him. Because Rashi on the spot says, Rashi says, because Yosef said to Saramashke, remember me and mention me, he got 2 more years in Islam. But it is said, don't put your trust in Mitzrayim and Rahavim, which is a boastful people, this Mitzrayim. That Rashi is very straightforward. It says Yosef, faltered, some kind of a boo-boo, and He got punished for that. The Medrash changes the juxtaposition of that. He says, Asher Aish She'Hashem Miftachon, that Hashem was his, the source of his trust. V'lo pana al Rehovim, and he did not turn to Rehovim. He didn't ask for favors from the boastful. In this case, Mitzrayim. So the message, that pasuk, who he's talking about? The Yosef. And then the Medrash says to the Mitzri, Vizkartani, Zachatani, Vizkartani, you remember me and mention it. And he got 2 more years added to his sentence. So supposedly, like, the beginning of the Medrash contradicts the end. In the beginning, it says, Asher Aish, fortunate is the person who has real bitachon. Who is that? Yosef. Like, who is a jolly good fellow? Yosef. And it says to the Mitzri, remember me and mention me, he gets 2 more years in Islam. So he's a good guy or a bad guy. What's the story? Hadanish says, Yosef had true bitachon in Kodesh Baruch Hu. For someone in his madrega of bitachon, it's a b'gan. You cannot trust a Mitzri. You should know that he will do whatever fits his agenda. So he gets 2 years in Islam. Maharil Diskin says an amazing word, which is like a school for life of what does it mean, bitachon, how are you supposed to behave with bitachon. Maharil Diskin says, we have 2 psukim that contradict one another. In Tehillim, it says, one place it says, Ashlech yavcha al Hashem v'chalkaleka. Dump your load onto Hashem, and he will sustain you. He'll take care of you. In a different place, he says, Uvarechecha, and Hashem will bless you b'chol asher taseh, whatever it is that you do. From here, from the first pasuk, the meaning is that you don't have to do anything. Just dump your load onto Hashem and he'll take care of you. The second pasuk says this you need to do, and Hashem will bless your, handiwork. So which way is it? What are you supposed to do? Nothing, just trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or do, your normal shtadlus, and Hashem will bless it. Which way is it? So Maharil Diskin says that we have a cloud, in the 13 codes that you can understand, get halacha out of the Psukei HaTorah, is the last one, actually, the 13th. Shnei ksuvim makchashim ze et ze. 2 verses that negate, that contradict one another. Ad sheva kosov hashlishi, and here comes a 3rd verse, v'yachriya b'neihem. It tells you which way the right understanding is. So it says one pasuk says, just put your load onto Hashem, he'll take care of it. The second one says, Hashem will bless whatever that you do. So what is the 3rd pasuk that makes the compromise between the 2? Or throws light on the fact that these 2 psukim are right? This is the pasuk is Bitachon Hashem. So it says, Gol al Hashem darkecha. Roll onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu your way. Uvtach alav, and trust him. V'hu yaseh, and Hashem will do. He says what happens is that what you need to do is you start rolling your way onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do something, within that, towards the direction of what it is you need to do. It doesn't matter if you do a lot or you do a little. You start rolling the wagon. Doesn't matter how pathetic it may seem vis-a-vis in comparison to the whole project. Bitachon and trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and there will happen, he will do. And this is how he explains this particular pasuk. In other words, he says, the thing that Kadosh Baruch Hu blesses is, and you need to do just something to start. You just start rolling it. It doesn't have to make sense, this is something that will for sure bring about. No, just start. Trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu and he will do. He says, when you take a look at what's happened with Yosef, the Medrash is saying that Yosef had true Bitachon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. אשרי האיש היה שעשה השם יפתחו ולא פועלו אל רעב. זה יוסף. That told the Mitzri, told the Egyptian, V'zchartani zkartani, and got 2 more years. And this is how he explains it. Yosef told the Kadosh Baruch Hu, during that episode that Yosef in Mitzrayim, he wasn't just in jail without any kind of due process. There was a trial. In this particular trial, there was a miracle, and this baby child of this Egyptian, woman started to speak. And he said, no, it was my mother who was trying to coerce him. And there's a proof. You can see that he wanted to go away. She grabbed his clothes and she tore them. If it would have been Yosef who is the aggressor, and she would pull him, so his clothes would be torn from the front. So he says, no, he went away and she tore his clothes from the back. She's the one who wanted it. They checked Yosef's clothes, and sure enough, they found they were torn from the back. So comes the question, what is he doing in jail? They realized he was innocent. The answer is the same way that they do all these demonstrations in the world because of the war. And in other words, we find guilty whoever it is we want to find guilty. And that doesn't matter what the truth is. You're talking about Sarat HaBochim, you're talking about either the one, the chief slaughterer of the behemoths, or the head of the KGB, of the Egyptian KGB, the one who executes people. Sarat HaBochim, either this or that. He was a big guy. It's a big busha for us to find out that his wife was the one who was really guilty. So they swept Yosef under the carpet, put him in jail, forget about him, throw away the key, finished. So if Yosef really wanted to Yosef was in a conundrum. What is he supposed to do about this? Here there were messengers who are going to go back to Parai. Because he knew the Sarah Mashkin, the minister of libation, is going to go back to Parai. He could have brought the whole dossier from the file. Here, proof positive. I'm totally innocent. This coincides with the pasuk says, I will bless you whatever it is that you do. You're supposed to do. Do everything that needs to be done. On the other hand, maybe the way that you're supposed to handle the situation is by not doing anything. Throw your burden onto Hashem, and He will sustain you. What is the right way to behave here? And Yosef took that third option. Gol al Hashem darkecha, roll onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu your way, just start. Uftach alav, and trust Him. V'hu yaseh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will accomplish it. Yosef did not bring too many proofs. He just told him, listen, I'm here for nothing. It's just fake, they cooked up, they weaponized the justice system, as it were. mention me to Paro. Remember me, mention me to Paro? Finished. That's it. He just started the ball rolling. The result of this was that the Egyptian did not remember Yosef, did not mention him for 2 years. What happens then? And why did it happen that way? 2 years later, Paro has his dream. Then the Egyptian says, yeah, I remember, it's Yosef, I mentioned my sins, it's what happened, whatever. Diskin says, it had to happen this way. Because Paro was the sole dominion of Egypt at that particular time. And the time for that dominion to basically pass over to Yosef had to occur 2 years later. We have a principle in Malchut Nogad B'Chaverta Kimlo Anima. One authority does not overlap another, even a hairbreadth. Paro's sole dominion had to last 2 more years. Means Yosef could not become the Melech of Mitzrayim 2 years before. So it has to happen 2 years later. But there's another in it here. Let's say that Yosef would have done everything possible to convince the Egyptian. You will bring the files, Foresnik, whatever. Now, you have on one, the minister of libations was saved by a hairbreadth from being hung. I mean, the master baker was hung. So you say he's going to put himself, he's just, just coming out to Paro, breathing, breathing heavily in relief. Now he's going to mention, by the way, listen, there's a person there who was put in jail unfairly by the head of the KGB. You know something? Let's say that he would have said it. He's so impressed. He's so grateful to Yosef. He says it. Puts himself into Paro's position. In the ring, okay, on one side, coming up at 300 pounds, the head of the KGB. Tremendous amount of power, tremendous amount of influence in Mitzrayim. On the other corner, coming in a 90-pound weakling, a boy, slave, Jewish. You expect Paro to intervene for him. You have another thing coming. But you know something? Let's say no, the Paro actually decides, you know something? I think that this head of the KGB, the Sarat Abachim, he's got a bit too big for his britches. Maybe it's about time, to put his nose down all on that. And he would take out Yosef out of jail. He would choose Yosef's side just to show him that Sarat Abachim, who's boss. Let's say that would have been the case. What would be then? In other words, 2 years before. What would be then? What would be then is that Yosef would have never, ever become the king of Egypt. First, it wasn't time yet. There was 2 more years that had to pass when the time of the kingdom of Yosef will arrive. But furthermore, if Yosef would have been taken out of jail, he would have gone around in the Egyptian marketplace. And they would be sitting there, with their beads, whatever it is that they do, and they'll think, you see this guy? You know what happened? I know this. I know what really happened there. I got a cousin whose wife has a third cousin who works with the woman that washes the clothes in the house of Potiphar, and she told me that they told him whatever it is. I know what's going on. Somebody else would say, no, it didn't happen, whatever. There will be opinions to here, opinions to there. Netanyahu is good, Netanyahu is bad, Yosef is this, Yosef is that. 2 years later, when the dreams of Pharaoh would come, and the Egyptian would say, remember this guy? He was really good at interpreting dreams. Yosef would already had upon him a stamp of a welfare case. Somebody would did a favor to, that did it do it? Did she do it? Who? You're going to entrust the entire future of the Egyptian kingdom on somebody that, some people say this, some people say that, I don't know, maybe. It could not be. The only way that Yosef could become a king over Mitzrayim, says Maril Diskin, is if he would come out of jail for a reason that had absolutely nothing to do with the episode with Potiphar's wife. Nothing. When the dreams, Parah has his dreams, Samashkin says, there is this slave that knows how to interpret dreams, and I have proof for that. That's it. Now he comes out. Now Yosef comes out. Now Yosef becomes a king, and not only becomes a king, Parah marries him, Yosef, to the daughter of Potiphar's wife. In other words, the episode between them has nothing to do with anything. That's the only way he would become king of Mitzrayim. Yosef did something towards the goal. What would happen? I don't know. Because Baruch Hu will handle it. Start the process. The same thing, this is the way to handle Bitachon. You start the process. And the bigger your emunah, the less you have to do. The more clear it is for you, the less you have to do. The Torah's manis now that in Breslov they learn is the famous RPB, Reish Pei Beis, Fine Nekudas Tovos. The Torah Nekudas Tovos has basically 4 steps. Judge someone else, it's Sichos, even Posh Yisrael. Find a kubator, be malakavschos. The second one is judge yourself favorably. The third is you pick another nekuda tova, and altogether it becomes a song, it becomes a melody. And the fourth step is the mishkan that is made by the tzaddikim, from which the tinokas shebervabon, the children that go to cheder, get their mouth birth that has absolutely no sin involved. When they learn Torah, it's 100% clear. The nekuda is, this is the process. You want to build your emunah? When you look at someone else, train yourself to look for nekuda tova. It could be nekuda tova with somebody in your family. It could be nekuda tova with somebody else. Whatever it is, it does not mean that you should be their advocate that what they did wrong is actually right. It's not so bad. No, that's not that. What is wrong is wrong. But there is a nekuda tova. The Rebbeinu says, how is it possible they never did anything right? Anything good? What are they in the nutshell? Are they good that happen to be in a situation to do bad things? Or are they really bad? Every once in a while they do something good. You judge them favorably. They are good. Listen, that's where they live. That's what happened to them. You train yourself to look for good in others. Many times that good is just to say, like, that's what they can. Yeah, it's wrong, but they cannot do anything else. I should not be expecting anything from them, anything differently. That's who they are. Let's also be dalakavschos. When you're able to do that for somebody else, you're able to do that for yourself as well. It's who you are. It doesn't mean that what you do bad is good. Mm-mm. But that's what you can do. We spoke about it quite a few times. Okay, I'm a liar. What can I do? I'm a faker. Can I stop faking right now, immediately, forever? No. I can do a little bit. I get angry with my child. I feel, I don't know, jaundiced or impatient with him, or whatever it is it might be. Can I change it from one moment to the next and feel, oh, calm, take? I can't. But what I can do, I can behave as if this is how I feel. Fake it till you make it. I can do it. You're being done yourself the kafschos. When you are being done yourself the kafschos, your entire life becomes melody. You realize melody is not only high notes. Only high notes is a siren. The high notes, low notes, this and that. This is who you are. You're basically good. You're definitely good. When you get to this melody of who you are, yes, there's some bad, there's some this, some that, but basically it's good because you train yourself to look for good all the time. You're connecting to the Mishkan that Tzaddikim build. It's not just the Tinok Shebes Rabban that get Hevel Pesha Emochet. You also get Hevel Pesha Emochet. Means your gate of tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes open. Hevel Pesha and Bochet means that it's a direct communication. You speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu easily. Maybe you can talk that much. You can now in HaKadosh Baruch Hu even with your thought. A word here and a word there. You develop a trust that you know HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears you. But I still have those convictions that I'm not good. So it doesn't matter. From training yourself to look at the good in others, you are able to look at the good in you. Once you love your fellow Jew, you're able to love yourself as well. And you utterly, at the end, you get to this point that you can talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from anywhere and about anything. You're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu about everything. And this creates the trust. And when you're in a situation, well, what's going to be? Akol tov, yeh tov. If you can't say Akol tov, first of all, say yeh tov, v'akol tov. And you build a trust, and you build a keli, and the bounty comes down. It works. You work it, and it works. So let's take a quick look at Sichos Haran from this week, which is also this a crucial nakuda that we need to look at. Let's see here. Where is it? Hold on, just 1 second. Doesn't show. But let me try to go through that again. There you go. All right. Sicha 213, Reish Yud Gimel. Shamati bishmo, I heard from Rebbe's name, Shedibir be'inyan machloket, that he spoke about this Indian of people, having a strife against someone else, a dispute with someone else. What does it mean? Let them say what they want. This one talks about this one. What's the difference it's making? And he says, but it's not so. באמת על ידי מחלוקת שחולקים על אחד. By having מחלוקת that you're disputing, having dispute on someone, יכולים חס ושלום להפיל אותו מדרגתו חס ושלום. You can actually bring him down. As Chazal said, that they want to make also Shlomo HaMelech, on him. I don't remember exactly what this was. It was in Sanhedrin. David HaMelech came before them. He says, if before that, they would have a power to push off Shlomo HaMelech also. And by their diburim, by their, the kind of derogatory speech that they had. And this is what David HaMelech said, Allah b'shalom. Sarim radfuni chinam. Ministers, important people, spoke with me in vain. I know that it's in vain, it's nothing. Meaning, they don't achieve anything when they are disputing me. It doesn't bring me down. How do you know? I'm afraid of your dover. I'm afraid from your words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have Yir Shamayim. And I don't fall from the Madrega Chas v'Shalom. That's a simon that dispute, that disputing me and they're persecuting me is empty. It doesn't do anything. So Sarim Ratfu Nichinam. It doesn't do anything. There's no justification to it, and it doesn't bring about anything, any kind of damage. It's finished. The speech has a great koyach. A great koyach. They said that one of the really important kanoim in Yerushalayim in 1967, Six-Day War, anti-Zionist to the nth degree. And there were bombardments, the Jordanians, whatever it is, Jerusalem, whatever, and people were in the bomb shelter. And they started talking about, the Tzionim and this and that, and he said, shh, nothing. You don't say anything derogatory about any Jew at this point in time. They're all clean, they're all beseder gamur, 100%. It's very comparison to those on the other side, for sure. Don't say anything derogatory because you don't know who's listening. Shammai, you don't know who's listening. You don't know what's at stake. They know, they didn't know, he's guilty, he's not guilty, he knows, he cares, this, he should do. Nothing. There was a song in Walt Disney, or whatever it is. If you can't say something good, don't say anything at all. Especially during this point in time. Say that Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to do great chesed with us. We're going to have Hashem Geula Shleim Bezat Hashem. And tremendous nisim Bezat Hashem. And all the Yid Bezat Hashem will do tshuva shleima. Then what can you do? They're in the hands of the Yetzer Hara that has brought them Hashem Yirachem to where it did. The Kadosh Baruch Hu said, that's it. No, you're not right. It's not Mr. Rogers. It says, if you cannot say anything nice, don't say anything at all. It's not Mr. Rogers. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Anyhow, read it as it may. Bezat Hashem, this year, first of all, is dedicated to that Tzloch of Klal Yisrael. And Bezat Hashem, we will have Geula Shleima very soon in our days, Bezat Hashem. We're going to see Mashiach Tzidkenu, Bezat Hashem. It's about time. And Rabbeinu says, how is it possible that we are letting Kadosh Baruch Hu make chas v'chalil bad decrees on us? We should keep him busy. Bring me closer to you. Bring his Geula Shleima. Nudge him. So what good will it do? So when a Yid comes to Kadosh Baruch Hu and presses and pesters a Kadosh Baruch Hu to bring him close to Hashem, Hashem lets go of all the decrees that he is working on, chas v'chalila, to do something which is not whatever, and turns to this Jew and listens to him to be part of him. So, well, you really mean that? I mean, you want to tell me that this is that it works that way, that Kadosh Baruch Hu can only listen to one person at a time? There is a raya from the Torah. And that's a situation. Yes, there is such a thing. Kadosh Baruch Hu leaves everything else and just looks at this one person. When in a Torah, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, if it's going to be one Yid is going to say, listen, Shalom Ayeli, everything will be fine. I'm going to do whatever it is that I please. The man's that whatever it is, I'm going to do whatever it is. Everything is going to be fine. Everything with me is going to be fine. Because Baruch says, "V'nosati ponai ba'ishahu." I would put my face into that person. Rashi says, Pnai sheli shani poneh mikol hasokai. V'noten ponai ba'ishahu. I leave all my other business. I put my face into this person. This is chas v'chalila for bad. How much more so for good? When you come to God and say, "B'no Shalom, help me," I'm not dealing with what's going on in my life. V'nosati ponai ba'isha. Kadosh Baruch Hu leaves all the gzeres and turns to this person. Kadosh Baruch Hu should help us with that Hashem. We should all peser Kadosh Baruch Hu, bring us closer to you. Kadosh Baruch Hu will leave all the gzeres she'eino tevus chas v'chalila on Israel and doesn't dump them on them and all the Shem Yirachem, all these animals. And we see Geula Shleima B'ezat Hashem, B'kar B'yameinu Mamish B'ezat Hashem. Oh, a gewaltige week B'ezat Hashem.
Amen, amen. Shavua tov, kol tov.
Kol tov.
Tודה רבה.
Kol tov.
Thank you.